Rising unemployment, growing government control of private personal decisions, and an increase in the loss of liberties. A trade war with the Chinese and government borrowing and spending out of control. My next guest not only predicted much of this, he says a revolution is already underway in the United States. Joining me now is the world's #1 trend forecaster, Gerald Celente, director of the Trends Research Institute. Jerry, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Oh, thanks for having me, Judge.
You wrote a very interesting piece that captivated me either yesterday or this morning when you sort of outline what's been happening lately. We had these anti-tax rallies around April 15th. We had the 4th of July rallies all over the country. We had the town halls that liberal Democratic members of both houses of Congress ran, much to their dismay, throughout the country during August. We had two huge Tea Parties around Labor Day, one in Washington, D.C., and one in Fort Worth, Texas. What's the message? Where is it coming from? And what have the people learned to realize that they might not have realized up to this point?
Well, the message is that the Second American Revolution has begun for the reasons that you've said. And with each one of those shots fired beginning on April 15th with the Tea Parties and tax protests, the media has been downplaying it and marginalizing it, attributing it to right-wing groups and conservative fringe elements. And then, of course, we saw the other one happen on September 12th in Washington, D.C., with numbers up to 1 million+ people turned out. It's that old network TV movie where people threw their televisions out and said, I'm fed up and I'm not going to take it anymore. This has nothing to do with right and left. This has to do with people that are losing their homes, losing their jobs, seeing government sell them out and charge them for bailing out the too big to fails while they're losing everything. It's a government out of control while people are losing control of their lives and their futures.
It wasn't too long ago when the government was controlled by Republicans and the president proclaimed himself to be a compassionate conservative. I just discussed this with Nick Gillespie. Even though he fought illegal wars, even though he spent more than all of his predecessors combined, even though he federalized education and prescription drugs for seniors, even though he claimed he could lock up Americans and throw away the key and the Constitution be damned, even though he said that he could spy on people without search warrants, and who cares about the Fourth Amendment, even though he said his first job was to keep us safe, I would argue his first job is to keep us free. What happened to the concept of limited government, and why is it that average folks are not recognizing what has happened to them and their rights until now?
People were afraid to speak out under the Bush administration. You're either for us or you're against us. Remember that one?
Yes.
If you criticized anything that Bush said, you were called a Bush basher. It's different now. You have the Wimpocrats in control. They don't fight back. Remember John Kerry? I mean, when he was getting swift-boated, what did he do? He sent that poor guy McClellan, the Vietnam veteran, to go deliver a letter to George Bush in the heat of the summer at his ranch rather than show up himself. The Democrats, the Wimpocrats, don't have the fight. The Republican fringe element, when you went after Bush, and believe me, I know, yeah, we're political atheists. We just call it like it is. But when we pointed out things, as you pointed out, about the Patriot Act, about the illegal wars. Hey, remember Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda? And if you came out against Bush, you were a Bush basher. Now it's easy pickings with Obama, and more people are ready to hear it now. But there's a hypocrisy, as you well have pointed out the issues. Obama's doing the same thing as Bush was doing in many different areas. He's the best of Bush and the worst of Clinton. But when you point out these things, the same people that were supporting Bush are now bashing Obama. That's where the hypocrisy is.
Have the Republicans in the Congress, numerical minority though they may be, suddenly found the Constitution, suddenly found the free market, suddenly found the natural law, or are they bashing or disagreeing, whatever word you want to use, Jerry, with President Obama just because he's a Democrat and he's in the White House and they're Republicans and they're in the Congress and they're in the minority?
Judge, it's like watching World Federation Wrestling. And this is the same thing. It's the Washington Federation of Wrestling. What they do is in front of the cameras, oh, they talk tough, and then they do the deals behind closed doors. The only difference is with the World Wrestling Federation, you know the game is rigged. It's the two-headed one-party system. Look, how could any thinking adult expect anything from the Republicans and the Democrats? By their deeds you shall know them. Hey, they did a great job with Katrina Quality Rescue Skills.
Right,
oh,
right.
And they built the World Trade Center bigger and better than than ever before, just like they said they would. Oh, and those two wars they're running over in Afghanistan and Iraq, terrific. Victory is around the corner. Oh, and remember under Bush, the TARP program that cost us $850